Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for your time. It's always good to have you. I always feel so happy to be here and, of course, getting to obviously interact with you and, of course, getting to talk to different people with different trends, with different innovations, and so on and so forth. Today, we are in touch with a man who's been working in the jewelry industry for quite some time. Just upon completion of school, he was hooked up with a company that was specialized in jewelry, where he started working with different jewels and, of course, different gemstones as well. And after enjoying his work and, of course, after seeing so much value in what he was doing, he decided to start up his own company. And, of course, later on in 2016, 2017, when he was retrenched, he decided to focus all his attention to building and, of course, growing his personal company. He's going to be telling us more about what I just scratched on the surface of his story as well. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest on the show today is Mr. Nason Kokowe. Mr. Kokowe, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for making time to be with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, and a lovely day that we have.
Every time that I sit next to you, I always think we are here to talk about football because we talk much about sport. But now sitting next to you talking about entrepreneurship, wow, it's a unique opportunity for me. To start with, how did you find yourself in the jewelry trade?
First of all, it was in 2004. I completed my grade 12 in 2003. 2004, it's somewhere around February. My elder brother David called me and he told me to say there was a vacancy at his place of work, and that's how he told me that in the morning, that following day, we should be going together. And I went there. It was at Kraus Reigard. I found this madam, Mrs. Mark O'Donnell, Effie O'Donnell, so to say. She interviewed me, and she was happy with me. I was hired, started working on the 4th of February 2004. Since then, I've been a jeweler, and I've enjoyed quite a lot. I've interacted with a lot of people, and I worked with Kraus Reigard for close to 4 years. In 2007, 2008, the company was sold to the Jewel of Africa, the famous Jewel of Africa, and that's how we were taken on as Jewel of Africa employees till 2017 in July, when I was retrenched. Funny enough, when I was receiving my letter of retrenchment, some people, names withheld here, they thought I was going to be so sad. But I just saw this retrenchment coming as a blessing in disguise, because I've always had this heart of trying to work and prove a lot of people wrong out there, that most Zambian youths they cannot survive the economic hardships in this country. And I'm trying to prove to the people that we as Zambian youths can make sure and work out something that even the people out there outside the world can be admiring us and say, okay, this is good. What has been driving my motivation behind this is, we have everything in this country. Everything is mined here. All the materials that a jeweler would want to use, it's found here. So for me, it's one way that drives my my confidence to work even harder in as far as developing this industry is concerned.
Interesting. During the time of your working with the two companies, the previous company and, of course, subsequently Africa Jewel, what are some of the skills that you learned that have helped you build your own company?
Well, from Kraus Reigard, it was all about craftsmanship, trying to make things like wine coasters and whatnot. But when we joined, personally, when we were taken on by Jewel of Africa, we started learning how to set gemstones. And not only that, even the diamonds. We know how to set diamonds. This is pave setting. A lot of settings I learned, and personally I feel that I can be able to teach other people, and that's the reason why I would want to see this industry grow, because it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. In these other countries, people are going to school just to learn how to make jewelry, how to cut gemstones, and this is the reason why, as Zambia, we need to have gemstone polishing and cutting schools and training centers around the country so that we can have a lot of youths that are empowered with skills.
All right. What led to the entrenchment that you earlier talked about?
Well, the company decided they were, in fact, what is contained in the retrenchment data is that the company wanted to reduce on the workforce, and I happen to be one of the victims. And in this case, I will not call myself as a victim, but a victor, because it was all victory since I left Jove Africa. I've never had any difficulties as to how these other people face difficulties when they are retrenched. For me, it has been a different story because of the focus and the effort that I have been applying in this core that I have at hand with me. And it's something different. It looks so simple, and when I'm talking, people might say, no, maybe it's not true, but I have a story that people should hear out there. Like I said,
tell us about it.
The story is all about planning ahead. I met this lady by the name of Inonge Zita Mwene. We met online. Someone was stealing my photos and sending them to her, pretending that he's the one that is making this jewelry. Funny enough, she contacted me and we talked. Since that time, she's been encouraging me to work on my own designs. And this is the story that I need people to hear out there. We have something that God has created us with. Each and everyone is talented in his own way. What is important is to sit down and think, what is it that can come out of this talent that God has gifted me with? So for me, it was all about jewelry manufacturing. I've never done any other job apart from jewelry making ever since I left school. So for me, this story should be shared with a lot of people. A lot of youths in this country, they can't do anything because they are not thinking outside the box. If we try to think outside the box, all of us, then we can be able to win whatever challenges that we are facing. What do I mean? Everyone is talented. How do we use our talent? We must be able to network with other people. Working with other people is very important because by so doing, you'll be introduced to a lot of other people that will be interested in the product that you are making. And of course, by so doing, you'll be improving on your skill. So this story has always been on my mind on how, as youths, Zambian youths, we can challenge the economic hardships that we are facing and how we can get the best out of it. And like in the jewelry industry, people are marrying every day. People are engaging every day, meaning engagement rings have to be made, wedding rings have to be made. And a lot of fashion designers out there, they would want to see a lady who is fashionably dressed with a nice fashion ring or a pendant or a necklace. So this is the advantage that we have as Zambian youths. If you walk around the streets of Lusaka, you find a lot of youths who've got this innovative mind and they're making cash out of it. And that is very important, and that's what I would want to encourage. So coming back to our industry, this is a multi-billion-dollar industry. If the government can just come in and make sure that they utilize the institution that was established in Ndola. There's a gemstone cutting and polishing center in Ndola, and the government must make sure that they pump a lot of money, make sure that the youths that are being trained in these facilities that have been established by the government, particularly the Ndola Gemstone Cutting and Polishing Center, they are empowered with the machinery, they are empowered with resources so that, as they are graduating, we'll be seeing the impact of, what these people will be doing on the ground in as far as their skills and, performances is concerned in this industry.
Interesting. If I look at your hand, well, I think you are a married man.
Oh, yes.
Exactly. When the retrenchment process was happening, were you married by then?
Oh, yes. I got married way back in 2006, and I'm a father of 3. Mm-hmm. I'm happily married to Nason Kokowe, a very beautiful woman, and she encourages me. She's one of the people that have been encouraging me ever since I got retrenched. she's always been there for me.
How was the situation at the moment when you got trenched, when you relayed the information to her, sir? Maybe, well, my job is done. How was it? In other homes, there's always tension when the husband is no longer working. There's always tension, and sometimes, you know, happiness disappears, and so on and so forth. How about in your case?
Well, like in my case, the first thing that I did, you know, funny enough, I had a dream that I was going to be retrenched the very day they were calling me.
Mm-hmm.
That was on a Wednesday. They called me. In fact, one of the accountants sent a text to me asking me to report to the head office in the morning the following day. That was on a Thursday. And I went there on a Thursday. I had a dream that I was going to be retrenched. So we were talking about this with my wife early in the morning around 3 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking. I was explaining this dream to her. I was like, you know, today around 10 o'clock I'm supposed to report at the head office. And would you mind to hear this? She was like, go ahead. Then I told her that I had a dream that I've been retrenched. I will no longer be with the Jew of Africa for the rest of my life. And that would be the money that I'm going to get will be the last money that someone is going to pay me for the number of years that I've worked. Then she was like, whatever is going to come out of the meeting that you are going to have with your bosses, we should accept it as it is, and we should move on. That was so encouraging to me. And if we can have a lot of women who are like the way my wife, you know, encouraged me on that particular day, I think we can have a very, very good number of you know, happy families out there. So coming back to the whole issue, I went to the head office. They gave me this letter. There was no tension whatsoever in my home. We stayed calm, all because, you know, Jehovah has blessed us with, you know, this mind of, you know, being together in the home. And being as, I mean, a Jehovah's Witness, it has also really helped me, because I went to one of the elders, one of, you know, very senior brothers in the congregation. I explained to him. Then he gave me, you know, literature to read and, you know, start with my family. And it really helped me. The money that I got, Nelson, to be honest with you, I took it all to buy iron sheets for my little house that is under construction in around 15 miles area along Great North Road. I remained with nothing, meaning the following month I was to survive using other ways and means of how to get money to pay for rentals, school fees, and other necessities. It was kind of difficult, and it is difficult. And people, when they say it's hot out there, it is really, really hot if you are not ahead of time in terms of planning. Every time, planning, time management, discipline, determination, and of course you have to dream big. And these are the things that have been a driving force to me. I've managed to arrive where I am today because of these things. Determination. You have to dream big. Discipline. All these things have to be maintained for someone to excel. I'm just a beginner, but I can see light at the end of the tunnel.
So how somebody might be very interested in knowing exactly how are you surviving, you know, taking care of your beautiful wife, taking care of yourself, and of course of the little ones as well, because I believe that, you know, the little ones are already going to school.
Yes.
So how are you managing a family of about 5?
Well, how am I managing? I have a company called Kokowe Jewelers. I thought of using my indigenous name, my surname, as the name of the company, different from these other Chizungu names that we have around. I just wanted to be different. So Kokowe Jewelers is the company that I'm running. I'm there as a director and a master jeweler. I design and make jewels. Then I've also engaged another colleague of mine who happens to be Mr. James Katongo. He's a very, very senior cutter in Zambia. He started cutting gemstones in 1986. So he's a man, very, very senior man that I've engaged, and we are working together. We are in showgrounds next to Zamtel. And for more details, I'm sure you are going to have my card at the end of our show. And I think everything is going on well. We are receiving a lot of people that are coming. the little that we are getting with my colleague, we are able to sustain our everyday lives, and of course, account for every bill that comes our way, and that's how I'm surviving.
Do you regret having been retrenched?
I don't regret at all. I don't regret at all, because I've even managed to employ 2 people. Okay, though they are working weekly, some days in a week, 2 or 3 days in a week, but I'm working with them. So for me, it's high time that we started looking at this industry as a big industry. One good example I can give, Nelson, is that when you look at a piece of emerald, you can have a piece of emerald selling at $8,000. Okay, $8,000, a piece of emerald, and you have a full load of copper on a truck going to sell. Maybe you are talking of a ton. 1 ton of copper is $7,000, $8,000. So now when you look at the gemstone industry, it's more viable than the copper. So my appeal to the government is that they should look into this gemstone and jewelry industry so seriously, and an investment should be done, because there's a lot of money lying idle out there. By the way, Kokowe Jewelers has been invited to feature at this year's Chicago conference, Jewelry Responsible Conference in Chicago, United States of America. And I happen to be one of the people that will be traveling. The other one is Rudolph Kangwa, who was my workmate at the Jewel of Africa. And the other one is Inongezita Mwene. She's based in Denmark. She's my business partner. And we are going there to represent the country. And we are just looking forward to see who from the government side has been invited as well, so that we can plan together as what should be done after this conference, because the people that have been lined up as speakers at this particular conference, they are high-profile people that have been in the industry for quite a long time, and we are going to share knowledge, we are going to share notes, and it should be the starting point for Kokowe Jewelers and other gemstone cutters and jewelers out there to see to it that Zambia develops this industry, because we have everything, absolutely everything that one would want to make jewelry is mined and is found in Zambia. And this is the reason why we should have gemstone and jewelry cutting training schools dotted around the country. For example, you can have one northwestern province, one on the Copper Belt already we have. Do we have one in Lusaka? I don't think so, but we need to have one in Lusaka. We need to have one in Eastern Province as well, because we have a lot of gemstones coming from Eastern Province. Gold is also mined in Zambia. So what we are looking at, we want to eliminate the issue to do with middlemen in this industry. Why do we want to do that? It's because we want the local miners, and in this case we are talking about small-scale miners. They should have a premium every time they are selling their gold. So it should be like this. From the miner, the gold should come to the manufacturer of the jewelry or the gemstone cutter. Then from there, it goes to the market. And by so doing, we are going to eliminate the issue to do with middlemen, because they are the ones that have flooded the market, and the market right now is fragmented, all because of illegal mining and irresponsible jewelry practices. So we want to develop the supply chains and make sure that each and everyone involved is responsible for each and every role that they are required to play in this industry. That's why I appealed to the government, and my strong appeal to the government, my earnest appeal to the government is that kindly help this industry to grow. It's a multi-million-dollar industry that can help this country earn some revenue. Because when you look at it from the other angle, only 5% of Zambian gemstones are cut and polished locally. How about the other 95%? It's done from outside Zambia, which means a lot of revenue is lost. Where are the people, and what are they doing, those that are trained at the Dollar, Lapidary and Gemstone training center? What are they doing? In the last 5 years, I understand, according to statistics, over 400 people have attended, lessons there, and they've graduated. What is it that they are doing, and what is it that government has done to help, these people so that they can contribute to the development of this industry? It's high time that the Minister of Mines and all related stakeholders can come together, put the efforts together, and make sure that this industry is looked at as a multi-million-dollar industry that can earn Zambia some forex.
Wow, indeed, interesting. So now, when you're doing your work, what kind of gemstones, what kind of jewelry do you work with? What kind of stones do you work with?
Okay, on the stones, it depends on what clients want, and mostly, personally, I've not yet started buying gemstones, but I just work on gemstones that people bring to have them set for them. So I have to design. When I have a piece of gemstone on my table, then I can design and make something for the client. The type of gemstones that are currently that we are currently using in our workshop, our lapidary, is the amethyst, the citrine, the tourmalines, aquamarine, all the Zambian gemstones. We have them, and we are using them to make this beautiful jewelry that people are wearing. A lot of people, they are coming through. The metal that we are using, it's only silver because it's readily available, and it's quite cheaper. For the gold, if someone orders something and they pay an upfront, then we are able to do gold jewelry for them.
Okay, great. How do you access, for example, like you said, if somebody pays an upfront, and of course you can actually access some of these, jewelries. How do you access them?
Yes, that's the reason why we talked about responsible and sustainable way of doing business. What we want, we are buying this gold from reputable suppliers, people that are registered, and they are bringing their materials to us so that we can do business in a very rightful way. The reason why we want to do this is that we want to do with the right people. Responsible and sustainable way of doing business must be, done in a very, very, transparent way, because our people, our clients that are buying these things, even the people that are buying from, around Zambia, the Zambian community that are buying, they would also want to get something that is genuine. No wonder we want people who are supplying us with these things to be registered, because we know how we can hold them accountable if they bring something that is not the correct material that we have requested. For example, you try to ask for some gem grade garnets, then they bring the commercial. You'll be able to ask and say, this is not the material that we asked for. That's why we want to deal with registered people, so that we can have this responsible and sustainable way of doing business.
You're still watching In Touch on QTV, and of course my guest on the show today is Mr. Nason Kokowe, who is a gemsmith. Okay, so he deals in jewelry, and of course he also runs his personal company, sharing his story in terms of where he is coming from. Now, Mr. Kokowe, there is always, in most cases when people get fired, get retrenched, they always look at that happening in life as the beginning of hardships. How do we take advantage of, for example, being retrenched, being fired, being relieved of your duties?
Okay.
How do we take advantage of that?
How do we take advantage of that? Like I said, personally, one thing that I missed out on telling you is that in 2004, I had this colleague of mine. We registered the company. In the process, things were not going the right way. I pulled out. So how we can take advantage of being retrenched, being fired and whatnot, is to prepare ahead of time. I registered my company with Pakra way back in 2015. That's 3 years ago. Because I was seeing the way things were moving, and I could see that at some point I would no longer be here. What am I going to be doing out there? I am a skilled jeweler, very, very professional. What do? I need to concentrate on doing the jewelry manufacturing. That's how I started buying the equipment.
Why didn't you think of doing what we usually see on the market, where you start Kantemba or you start booming business? For example, you just think, okay, Tentikalime or something, because naturally, what I've seen is people always want to do business, or people want to engage in business that is already happening on the market. Or okay, no, that one is keeping chickens, and stuff like that. Why didn't you think of that?
Well, why didn't I think of doing any other business? First of all, I thought of myself, what am I good at? Okay, then I'm good at football analysis. Was it going to be giving me money? The answer is I had to look for sponsors for any particular show that I would be introduced on with any media house. There are a lot of media houses out there, and they would want to see a lot of football analysis done on TV. I'm also good at that. But I looked at, what am I good at, and something that can be bringing money on the table quick. Then I said, I'm going into jewelry, because this is something that I've been doing alongside football analysis for a long time. That's the reason why I went into jewelry manufacturing and designing. I never went to school for this. I was just trained by my colleagues during my time of work at both companies that I mentioned. So for me, I just didn't want to waste all these years that I spent in the jewelry industry and jump onto something else that would give me headaches at the end of the day. So that's the reason why I just went straight into jewelry manufacturing, because I could see light at the end of the tunnel. Like I said, people are marrying every day. They need rings. And I've always advised people to get genuine materials in as far as wedding rings are concerned. Because if you get a ring today from the market, Karingaringa market, you can buy a ring that was made somewhere in Asia, or here in Zambia somewhere, I don't know. The ring will start fading just after 2 days of your wedding. What's the meaning of that? Because a ring is something that you should stay with for, the rest of your life. It's something, it's for a lifetime. If you want to change, yes, it's just a matter of changing, but it shouldn't be changing color. So I've always advised people to get the right materials. And by the way, our colleagues, the Bazungus, they say these minerals that we have, you find that you buy, for example, you buy some quartz or rose quartz, and then he will tell you that it has got some healing elements. Okay? And they are wearing that. So why is it that here in Zambia we don't value these things? It's because we don't know. And that's the reason why we want people to know the value of these minerals that we have in this country. Because by so doing, it will help us to make more money. For example, you go to Rufunsa, you find a lot of small-scale miners. They are mining. How can we help them? That was going through in my mind when I just left the company that I was working for. How can we help those miners? It's by making sure that us here, we improve on the industry and start producing massively. Kokowe Jewelers wants to compete with the big companies around, and we want to aspire to be the leading and the best producer of Zambian jewelry in silver and gold. And how can we do that? We have to make sure that we have a team, a strong team that is going to work together, put our heads together and see to it that this industry grows. That's the reason why I couldn't go into any other business. I just wanted to do something that I understand better, something that I have got some experience with, and something that will even help other people come on board and make a living out of this. Because by so doing, when I make jewelry, I also need some packaging. I don't want to be buying packaging from China. I want packaging done in Zambia. We have a lot of wood that we have in Zambia. We have a lot of mukula. Why not use the same mukula tree to make packaging for the jewelry? And possibly export to the same countries that we want to take these things to in raw form, but we export already made products. That will help us. So for me, I want to develop this industry. There is a saying in English, a rising tide raises all ships. This is the reason why we want packaging of these, jewelry to be made in Zambia using the Zambian wood, because someone who works with wood out there will be making a living.
You're still watching In Touch on QTV. Just for now, we take a very, very short break. When we come back, we want to look at what is the future of Zambian jewelry and, of course, of local jewelry companies that trade in jewelry. For example, Nason Kokowe and, of course, others as well. What is their future? What are their expectations as well? And perhaps we'll also get into what these guys are capable of doing, turning, just a mere gemstone into something that looks pretty good when it's worn by somebody as well. Let's take a break. We'll be back shortly.
Lots of love to QTV. Love you.
All right, so welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're still in touch with Nelson and, of course, Kokowe as well. All right, so now let's get to, with you, what are you able to make when it comes to jewelry?
What am I able to make? I'm able to make rings, starting from wedding rings, fashion rings. Now would ask with what type of settings? Pave setting, bezel setting, all the settings that one would want to customize a ring. I'm able to do that. And one of these good days, I should be inviting you as QTV to come through and just look around and see how this is done, how we do, how a gemstone is cut finally to the jewelry manufacturing, and how the whole piece will look. So here we are saying the miner should bring the stone, it's cut, comes to my table, I make the jewelry, have it polished, and it goes to the client. That's the type of processes that are there. So everything that one would want to have done or made in as far as jewelry is concerned, I'm able to do that.
Okay, you've talked so much about cutting of jewelry. Just how much hard work is involved in cutting jewelry?
Well, there's a lot of work involved, because one has to be very, very accurate in as far as the angles are concerned, and I would say a lot of work is involved, because you need to have a lot of skill and thinking at the end of the day. So there's a lot of work involved, but it's interesting, very, very interesting.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, great. So now, what do you use to cut your jewelry?
We have gemstone cutting machine, which is called a Himahashi, and it's right fixed in our workshop. Everything is done, and if you come through, you'll be able to see how Mr. Katongo cuts and polishes.
Is that Mr. Katongo is on that picture?
Oh no, that's myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Manufacturing. There was setting some diamonds on a ring.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's basically what happens, and that's the only machine there that you can see.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Then we have a lot of work that goes through behind after that, because there I was setting some diamonds on a ring. Then from there I had to make sure that it's polished. Like I said, we invite you one of these good days to come through and see what normally happens in the workshop in as far as manufacturing and cutting of gemstones is concerned.
How long does it take for you to to turn something into what we're seeing there?
Okay, if I were to make that ring, it would take me 2 days.
2 days.
2 days proper for me to get a nice piece like that one. Why do I say 2 days? Yes, I can have it done in a day, but I have to make sure that there are no human errors seen when someone looks at a piece. It has to be a piece like when a lady looks at it, they'll be like, wow, this is nice. And that's the reason why I have to spend much time on a single piece, working on it, designing, and make sure that no single stone falls out when you buy a ring and take it to Dubai and say it was made in Zambia. Or
Okay.
if you buy a ring for your loved one and say, but the ring that I bought, stones are falling out. We don't want that. We want to make a ring like that one we are seeing there. It has to be perfect. It has to take years and years for someone to say, okay, let me go and have this ring fixed here and there. But the reason why we spend much time is to make sure that we eliminate quantity and remain with quality.
Okay, so let us look at various colors of what you're capable of doing there. Wow, quite beautiful colors there. Now, when you're looking at this particular trade, working on around that, how do you make sure that you don't miss out on especially the rings? Because I know for the necklaces, well, it's easy, and as long as the opening is wide, anyone can put it on and stuff. But for the rings, it's a bit different, because a ring has to fit somebody's kambombo.
Yeah.
So how do you make sure that the ring fits that kambombo?
That's interesting. We have a ring sizer that we use. Yeah, this ring sizer has got a lot of rings on it, and it has got letters. Some have got numbers, but in our case we use the one that has got letters. So we'll put it on your finger. If it fits, then we'll check what letter it is. If it's N, then your size is N, which is 7. Okay, so N is 7. K is 5.5. So if someone tells you to say my size is 5.5, just know it is size K.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So that's basically what we use.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Nice one. All right, so at this level, how is the level of competition for you? Especially that you're just, an entrepreneur is coming up. The mother companies are still in existence,
And they are doing fine.
and they're still doing fine, and they still have their international connections.
Yes.
And you're still now you're trying to nibble from the clientele that they have as well, and see if you can get some. So how is the level of competition?
Well, the levels of competitions are very, very high. And, what one needs to do is, like myself, is I just close my eyes and as if I don't see them, and concentrate on what I do and make sure that I make the best. The other thing that I normally look at is how much are they offering these pieces at? Okay? You find that these other outlets, they will sell, for example, a 5mm round amethyst, they will sell maybe at 2,500 kwacha, which is $250. Okay? Now in Zambia it's kwacha because we don't use dollars. If 2,500, myself I'm going to put it at 1,000 kwacha. Why 1,000 kwacha? It's because I want to beat their pricing and make sure that I attract more. I am selling genuine things at minimal prices to attract the clientele and make sure that even if they get something today, they will not complain, but they will be happy of having gotten something at a very reasonable price and it's original.
Okay, great. So now, have you ever had situations where, you know, a client returns your product because they think it's not up to that level?
Well, I have not had any instances like that, but it has happened in such a way that someone will buy and then they go, then they come back and say, okay, can we have adjustments here?
Okay.
Yes. What it is that first, before someone buys, they have to be specific of what they want. If I miss out certain information on what the client wants, then I should be assured of that item being returned to me because I did not follow what the client wants. And in this industry, the possibilities are very high of clients returning things saying, this is not what I wanted, or because you did not agree on what should be made in the first place. So what is important is when you come to Kokowe Jewelers and place an order, you are going to be given a job card and everything will be written, will be dotted down, and will be indicated as to when that product will be ready or that piece will be ready and what is it that you want done, so that tomorrow you may not be able to come back and tell us to say, this is not what I wanted, because a job card will have already been written down and you are going to have a copy and then the company will still remain with a copy. So it's easier that way to arrive at an amicable solution to say, okay, this is what is going to be done if you want changes effected on this jewelry piece.
Okay. Now, having said that, earlier you spoke so passionately about what you think can actually work out for the gemstone and jewelry industry in Zambia, and of course, if government was just to come in and of course pay attention to what happens, it's a gold mine. It's a gold mine that really would bring quite a lot of revenue to Zambia. Now, if government was to consider your advice and they jump on board and of course they harmonize things, how could the gemstone and jewelry industry benefit small-scale miners? Because we have small-scale miners who are mining small things. We have got other miners as well who are, for example, our friends who had the tragedy recently in the Copper Belt, Black Mountain. Those are small-scale miners as well, because what they get there,
No.
they get gemstones.
Okay.
After doing a bit of scratching here and there, they get gemstone. How do they all benefit from your industry?
The thing is, in the first place, I talked about responsible and sustainable way of doing business in this industry. Responsible meaning the people that will be on the ground extracting these minerals. One, safety must be put in the first place. Safety must be encouraged at all costs, because when you have people who are secure enough to operate, then you are going to have a group of people working while they are motivated. So safety must be the first thing that should be put in place in these mining areas that we are talking about. Secondly, the elimination of middlemen. It's the only way that is going to help us to develop this industry, because in this case we are talking about small-scale miners. And these small-scale miners, when we develop this industry, it's going to be easy to pay a premium to the small-scale miners back home who are doing the extraction of these minerals. How are we going to do it? Because it's going to be from the miner to the market, and to the market to the end user. There will not be so many middlemen that we are seeing around. And this is the reason why our friends, the Indians, they are coming on board amongst themselves in India, and they've come up with a plan. They want to make $60 billion in the next 5 years in the jewelry and gemstone industry. what is it that we as Zambians are planning in the next 10 years? Are we going to continue selling our gemstones and our natural resources, gold, silver, just like that without adding value? It's high time that the government and all stakeholders, interested parties, come together and make sure that we develop this industry. Kokowe Jewelers will be opening up a school come next year, or maybe end of next year. We'll be training jewelers and gemstone cutters. But what is it that the government is going to do to help us empower those people that are going to be trained at Kokowe Jewelers and Gemstone Training Center? They will need machinery. They will need skills of doing business after being trained as jewelers. We want to make this industry work out to benefit the local people, starting from the local miners back home in the village, up to the sellers in this country at the highest level, selling our minerals and whatnot in a finished way to other countries, and we are going to have revenue.
Finally, earlier on you talked about the conference coming up in the Washington in the US. What do you intend to benefit or to bring back home from this particular conference?
Well, what we want to bring back home after this conference is, the knowledge that we are going to acquire there. It has to come back home. We have to invest it back home and make sure that other people, like I said, a rising tide raises all ships. From Chicago, when we come back here, we want to make sure that the knowledge that we are going to acquire, it's also imparted in other people, so that this industry can continue growing and we can grow as one. We don't want other people to be growing like it is now. The small scale miner is not growing, but the one who is just, acting as a middleman is growing. So we want to be on the same wavelength. The miner benefits, the jeweler, the cutter, and the buyer at the end of the day. We must be all at the same wavelength. No wonder we are saying, if this industry is developed and looked at it as a money-making venture, then this country is headed for the best. Because we have everything. We have the gold, we have the silver, we have all the gemstones. What we want is to make sure that people are trained and they acquire the right skills to work in this industry, the gemstone and jewelry industry.
When are you leaving for the US?
Should be departing on the 15th of October, and we should be coming back on the 24th or 25th. Hopefully we should be staying there for a week longer, depending on how we are going to play around with our cards here, because we need to have money. Our host will only host us during the conference days, so we need to stay a little bit longer so that we can widen our network and talk to a lot of people, visit a few places out there and see how our friends and other companies are doing it out there. Like my colleague Inonge Zita Mwene would say ati kwacha ni ndalama ku Zambia. Kwacha, it's now a new dawn. This is what we want to do. We want to make sure that the jewelry and gemstone industry is developed to the max, so that it can add value to the economic development of this beautiful country called Zambia.
Well, Mr. Kokowe, thank you so much for making time to come and have a chat with us today. And of course, just wishing you all the best as well.
Thank you very much for having me, and thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Please. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, learning quite a lot in terms of how you can create opportunities out of nothing, and of course how you can take advantage of some natural developments that might seem to be quite awful, but at the end of the day, they might actually get you to the next level of your life as well. So that was Nason Kokowe, who is the CEO of the Kokowe Jewelry and of course gemstone as well. They are specialized in gemstone and of course jewelry making as well. Some of them are those that we are able to see displayed on our screens. Thank you so much for your time. Until next time, it's bye-bye.